All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the Naval Sports League Week 10, SCP38 versus the Jackals of the Baltic Sea. I am Lemerk, your host, alongside our returning Warbleworth. How are you today, Warble?
Hello. I'm glad to be back, first of all.
We are deeply glad to have you back. Today is going to be a very interesting battle. We have two teams who have a lot to prove. They are going to be on the map, and we've been debating this behind the scenes, whether it's My Lay or My Lie, but it's a map that you've seen before in previous battles, but it's being the spawn positions are in a way that you have never seen before. So for those of you who are regular viewers, you'll recognize this map as the one that is half open ocean, like half just open waters, and then half islands. Now we've seen that map before, but this time, instead of one side starting in the open ocean and one side starting on the islands, you will see as we get into the server that both of the teams are kind of starting at the midpoint where the islands start or the open ocean starts. So they'll actually have a choice of whether they either want to go into the islands or go into the open ocean. Warble, you've been away for a little while. I know you haven't gotten to see every single one of the battles, but you are familiar with our two teams, the SCP-38s and the Jackals. Talk to us a little bit about what you think today is going to be like and what kind of battle we're going to have, and then we'll go into things like the wind and some team composition and other stuff like that.
Right, yeah. So both the SCP and the Jackals have played two matches so far, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the SCP had the inaugural match against the Kraken, which they lost, and then they played in match 6 of this preseason that we currently are in against the Bona Partnership, which they lost. Both of these were actually, well, yes, these were the two closest fought matches by point difference so far.
Yeah, they were nail biters. They were totally
both of them were very close losses for the SCP-38. The Jackals have also fought twice, once also against the Bona Partnership, which they also lost, and they have also lost against the Kraken. So that's actually like very comparable, right? They both played the same teams, and they both lost both times. Mm-hmm. But the margin was far greater for the Jackals both times, so I would classify them as a slightly weaker team based on that.
The underdogs today.
So yeah, the Jackals would probably be the underdogs from my perspective. But you know, with this map now, there's a potential that a team can, through getting the other team to play basically on their chosen side of the map, get them to play to their strength, or well, to the enemy's weakness, I suppose. Though I don't know what the wind direction, southwest, I believe, today means. We'll have to see once we get into the map.
Yeah, southwest. If I'm not mistaken, it would probably favor the Brits a little bit, who are going to start on the east. So that is the 38s. I'm thinking that might give them a little bit of an extra win at the beginning. But with these ones with these wind directions that are not entirely against and for somebody, like it's kind of off to the side a little bit, it really opens up a lot of possibilities because you can start with bad wind, but you can get good wind in the middle, and it's a lot easier to do than if you just start with the wind directly in your face, which nobody is today. I agree with your assessment. Basically, I think the SCP-38s have just barely missed out on being considered one of the top teams of the league so far, just because they just like I was saying to our correspondents earlier when we were all chatting before. It's like they're bringing like 49 to the opponent's 51% each time. It's so close. It's just barely missing out on some victories. However, that said, because they have been so close to victory every time, a Jackal victory today proves that maybe the reverse is true, that maybe the Jackals have gotten it together and now they deserve the right to be considered approaching that upper tier of teams. A lot of that upper tier has yet to be decided. We have not seen some of the teams that like are widely believed to be some of the top performing teams of this league contest against each other. We have no idea what that upper stratosphere looks like yet. We're still working it out. That's the whole purpose of the preseason, is to kind of get a preview of what season 1 is going to look like and set up the stakes for that. So today is another opportunity for both of these teams to do that, and they both, with 2 losses at their belts, they really need to notch a win, and I cannot wait to see which one of them do. We have an EU server today, Warble, so that is going to favor the Jackals. That was randomly decided. Normally, if one team has more victories or one team has fewer victories, the team with the fewer victories gets the server in their time zone if they cannot already agree beforehand. But today it was randomly decided, and it was randomly decided to be the EU server.
Yeah. Also, what's interesting, maybe as a little side fact, is that the Jackals, of course, the Jackals of the Baltic Sea, is a team made up of 3 regiments.
4 now.
4, right? Yeah,
4
right.
now. One of them split up into 2 separate regiments, so now we have 4.
17D, which is now
Yeah.
17D, and also 9 PP.
I think you're right.
9P.
I think you're right. Yep. So that
and they're rotating leadership of their fleet each time they fight so far, right? So each time the fleet admiral is from a different constituent regiment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas I think it was Muffin the admiral the last time the SCP played. Yeah, I think they're staying consistent. So, and these are 2 different philosophies of how to approach this preseason. It's trying a bunch of different admirals and seeing who gets victories, or it's putting one admiral in every time and having him build experience. And we will see over time which one of those leads to more victories for these teams. I want to just introduce quickly our correspondents today. We have on our British flagship today, we have Percy. On our first British Acon, we have Wavy. On our second British Acon, we have our one of our directors, his inaugural corresponding, which is Mr. Dr. Professor. For our French flagship, we have Piet, who's going to be able to give us the inside information because none of the rest of us speak Polish. And on our first French Acon, we have Warcrime, and our second French Acon, we have Sabo. Guys, I want to open the floor a little bit to our correspondents and give you guys a chance to talk a little bit about what you feel like today is going to look like. So anybody have want to make a call on who's going to be victorious today?
I think it's going to be the SCP. I think it's going to be a very tight one, but we have played them already. I think and it was a tough match. With what the resources they had at their disposal, they made us work for it, and they know how to be inventive with strategies that can really just mess with your head. They've definitely come in this with a plan. They wouldn't have just come in and we're just going to go for it. There's definitely going to be a plan behind this, I feel.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think it will be a really close match today.
Who do you think is going to come out on top, Piet?
We will see.
We will see. Not committing himself. All right, fair enough. Anybody else got anybody think that it's going to be the Jackals?
Merc, I'll happily take the Jackals.
All right.
Possibly if they actually read the wind correctly this time and don't get mixed up like they did in their last battle.
Yeah, that was tough. That was a tough thing to watch.
I'd like to double down on Wavy and just go full in on the Jackals.
He's going. All right, you're in. All right. If we can take a look. Oh yeah. Okay. Hold on. Let me spawn in real quick, and then I will show the crew their what we're looking at today. We're going to sail around here. Back out of here. All right. As I zoom out, I'll give you guys the opportunity to see what kind of map we're looking at today. So, if you take a look at my screen, I'll give you a sort of angled look at what we're working with today. This is a perspective from the French team. The French team, again, is the Jackals. So let's take a look at a few things. First off, as you can see, and I will slowly rotate a little bit, you can see that this map has islands only on one side and the other side is wide open ocean. But unlike the last time we were in this, one side started all the way deep in the islands and one started deep in the open ocean. That's not going to happen today. So first interesting decision is going to be, where do these guys go? Do they go in the islands to do some trickery against one another, or do they go into the open ocean and then just have a sort of shoot 'em up battle out there with no impediments? Now, again, we have the wind is southwest. So take a look again from this perspective. Southwest is this way where I'm aiming. So it's basically just to the side. It's going to be a little bit aimed towards the French fleet, but for the most part, and if I can center my camera, which I will do ever so slowly, you'll get to see that Southwest is going to favor the British team, the 38s. And the French are going to have a little bit tougher wind to start off with. The Jackals are going to have a little tougher wind to start off with, but not ridiculously so.
I mean, it depends really on where they're going, right? Because if the Jackals want to go into the islands, then this wind might favor them, right? They are
it's not going to impede them in any way.
against the wind, which makes it easier to turn tightly into the islands.
Yep.
And they'll have a good maneuverability there, and are not overshooting their target. So I think that, well, what could it what reason would you think would move someone to bring their fleet into the island first?
I think going into the island, you're gonna be focusing on choke points, right? It's a fundamentally defensive play, and in the idea of luring enemies into places where you have advantages. Like if you could see between, like, on the edge of the islands, between those pill-shaped islands that are furthest from us on the screen on the overhead, and some of those smaller circular islands, like setting up between those and allowing enemies to come to you, that could be a great way. But it doesn't look like that's what's happening here. We could see from right off the bat, we have the British team, the 38s. They are going into the open ocean. Let's take a look at what the Jackals do. I mean, and again, am I surprised? Their southwest is where the wind is going. The 38s are going basically against that, right? They're going northwest so that they go against the wind. We've talked about this a lot in the ward room. That is a great opening because the enemy then, to get to you, also has to go against the wind. So whoever goes against the wind first has the advantage of knowing that if the enemy wants to approach them, they need to go after the wind, against the wind second, and that is a slow going. So you want to do the slow part first, right? Get it out of the way.
And it's even harder, of course, now for the Jackals to go into the wind because they would need to go directly against the wind, right?
Right. They have the slower go of it. So, however, look at this interesting, what we're seeing over from the 38s. What's the 13 gun doing? What is the 13 gun doing here? He seems to be going off on his own. Whereas the 8 guns are all finding, they're going straight, or they're going in the opposite direction. As predicted, the SCP38s have something up their sleeve.
They have a plan, yes.
I love this. I love the 38s for this. I love these unexpected strategies which make the other team have to think a little bit. But I'm very concerned because the 13 gun is going to have a tough time getting into this fight later on. So what are they trying to do? I think they're trying to lure. This is a lure. We know that the 13 gun is very often the decisive ship on the map.
So you think they tried to lure the Jackals into going after that 13 gun, going directly against the wind, and then going around with the 8s?
I think that may be what they're doing.
They're keeping their gunboat and their rocket boat, which is the 2 boats they've taken out.
With the 13.
With the 13, yeah. Yep. And the Jackals so far are basically just sitting there in spawn, right?
Yeah, the Jackals are, I think they're very smart about this. They're not going to throw their 13 gun in as the first ship. I think they're going to let that 13 gun sit behind and let some of the 8 guns go. And let the 8 guns figure out what's going on here, and then the 13 gun can make up its mind later. This is fascinating. This is the kind of battle I love, because, by the way, we really have to decode this. Yeah.
Yeah, Jackals also have taken... Jackals have also taken out an 8 gunboat and a rocket boat.
Okay, so we're looking at both teams with a gunboat and a rocket boat in the beginning.
They are forming line abreast.
No.
Jackals are forming line abreast.
That's true. I could confirm that. They try to form line abreast.
Wow.
Yeah, you are on the flagship, right, of the Jackals?
And you're hearing, so you're hearing that communications there. Wow.
Unfortunately, but maybe fortunately, most of the crew on the flagship is composed from the X's, so...
that's okay. So they said that. They said that to me earlier, that they wanted to have cohesion with some of their mercenaries, so that they were going to put a bunch of X guys on their flagship, which I take as a compliment.
And unfortunately, Seawolf is not on the front guns.
I don't think he's on their team. Is he?
I think he is.
Yes.
Oh, he is?
He is on that ship, but he's not on the front
see on him. So.
All right, so here's the thing. Let's talk about what some of this means before we get to the action. I'm just scared for the 38s because that 13 gun is so very, very far from any kind of support, right? Now, the southwest wind means that these 8 guns are not going to be able to rally to the 13 gun. So only thing that I can see here is that the 8 guns have to be the main attack. They have to start curving in now to get to a point where they can start attacking without boats. So I think what's going to happen is the 8 guns are going to get in, they're going to start attacking the enemy fleet, and then the 13 gun is going to whip around and charge at the back of that enemy fleet. That's how I would do what they're doing here, and I can see, as you can see, just look at that top 8 gun. It is starting to turn in a little bit, but man, this is. I mean, these guys are so far out. They're so far out.
They have to go against the wind too. So
the 8 guns have to go against the wind. I think honestly, because right when you do this split thing, you need an anvil and you need a hammer. So you need something that's gonna attack. Like the enemy is gonna say, okay, I'm gonna attack this one of these two groups. I'm gonna attack this group, and then the other group has to then slam in against the enemy and then deal the tremendous damage. Which the 13 gun is the right ship to be the hammer, and the 8 guns are the right ships to be the anvil that are just taking the punishment while the 13 gun. And you can see the 13 gun starting to come around at the bottom of my screen here.
Yeah. The Jackals are just going to go into the islands now. They're forming line ahead, 13 gun in the lead, and they are just going to smash that.
So
because
now
the
question is, has the 38 13 gun, has it gone too far? Is it so far out of the battle that it's not going to be able to catch up and join the battle in time? And that's the question that we're going to get answered in the next few minutes.
I will quickly just add, it is not just the 13. We also have the gunboat and the rocket boat over here. So
that's right. It's a formidable attack force. There's no question about it. The question is, can it get in on time?
Seems to pick up some speed at least.
We're gonna find out. All right, let's get a view from the Jackals flagship. It's engaging. So we've got on the Jackals flagship.
Yes.
We've got Piet. Piet, what are you seeing? What are you hearing?
Right now, I'm hearing that mostly they're starting shooting at the
half mass is
gun.
61.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, half was good on the.
And I could say that they really was surprised about the sudden changes of tactics.
Right.
So they're turning in. The 8 guns are turning in. They have
to. They have to be the anvil. They have to hold this fleet into engaging with them. They can't escape. Now, another interesting thing that you can see if you go to my overhead view is that the 13 gun and the 8 guns from the SCP-38 are about to engage with the rocket boat and gunboat from the Jackals. They have deployed the rocket boat and gunboat to delay and distract the 13 gun, and it is working. The 13 gun from the SCP-38 has turned away from its active pursuit of the enemy fleet and now must contend using its portside cannons to fight the gunboat and the rocket boat. These minutes that it is delayed fighting the gunboat and the rocket boat may be the difference between the Jackals fleet taking out and dealing significant damage to one of the 8 guns on the SCP-38's anvil, as we're calling it. It's holding force here with the 8 guns, but we're not seeing it in the ship HP totals right now. We're only seeing that the Jackals, gunboats, and rocket boats are taking significant damage. One of them is sunk already. So it looks like the Jackals have not managed to delay the SCP-38's flagship for very long, but it could be enough. And of course, because the flagship has gunboat and rocket boat alongside with it, that also is a way for it to deal with it. It looks like both of these ships are sunk. I'm not sure. I'm having a little bit of a weird reading on, you see that it has the HP, but it also has the X on the bottom. So I'm taking it as sunk. I think it's sunk.
It did come up on kill feed saying they sunk.
Right. Okay. So now again, SCP-38's 13 gun has got to get in this battle. Right now, the SCP-38s are doing a very good job at not taking a ton of damage to their 8 guns. Nothing has really happened HP-wise, except for that one of the SCP's 8 guns have taken a minor amount of damage at this point. But
and the Jackals have split around that island.
Now, the Jackals are going to have the wind. So at this point, the Jackals are basically heading south. So the wind is southwest. So they have all the wind in the world, as does the pursuing 13 gun. So now the question is, this 13 gun that's coming in, the SCP-38 13 gun that's coming in from the bottom, does it turn left or does it turn right? Is it going to re-engage with its fleet by turning right, or is it going to hook left and get behind the line of the Jackals? Because if it gets behind the line of the Jackals, that's a very aggressive and disturbing move for the Jackals. They have to deal with it sometime.
Who's the yellow boat to our northeast? Is that friendly?
I'm seeing, obviously, that the 38 is going to join the rest of his fleet. The rest of these 8 guns are giving their ass to the Jackals. I can't tell you why, but that's what they're doing. And this is where they're going to take some significant damage here. This is where it looks like they're running. Their plan looks like it's falling apart, if I have to be honest.
Well, definitely no hammer and anvil. But I think they managed to run at the right moment when the Jackals 13 gun wasn't really able to shoot at them.
Yeah.
Because they have already turned to shoot at the SCP-13.
Yeah. The Jackal 13 gun does have an interesting opportunity here, though, in that it is firing at the Jackal's 13 gun and not being fired back upon. So, in some small way, it is claiming some advantage here, and it's covering the retreat of its 8 guns, which, by the way, are getting harassed from the front from a Jackal's rocket boat.
Ooh, boom!
As you can see, some of these are hitting pretty hard.
Oh, sorry. My bad, zombies.
Any correspondent? You got anybody got a good perspective here that they want to share with us?
I'm checking.
I mean, I'm on the crow's nest of the British 13 right now, and it seems to be getting, it's taking a bit of pepper right now, but it seems to be getting the better exchange in terms of cannons. I think there was some good kills earlier from the crew here, and they seem to be doing pretty accurate with their shot calls. They seem to all be communicating and all sort of being high morale, I think, right now, despite the circumstances.
Aside from the rocket boats and gunboats, this has been a fairly inconclusive set of maneuvers, and I'm not sure that the SCPs got what they wanted out of this. And I think the reason for that is it was a really interesting idea, and I think the execution, timing-wise, which is so important when you're doing split fleet maneuvers, was not on point. I think the 13 gun needed to stay almost just a little bit out of range, of the enemies. And unfortunately, it went really far out of range, and it could not catch up to be the hammer to the anvil. And now the anvil has gotten punished for it. So, all right, let's take a look at. Let's go back to Piet. You're taking a lot of fire right now.
That's true.
It doesn't seem. It seems to be making a difference. Your ship HP is going down. You're almost at half.
That's true, but for right now, no cannons has been destroyed.
So you still got your power.
Captain seems to try to keep himself quite unsuccessfully just outside the 8-gun range. I could see a lot of lobes right now.
There's some interesting developments on the 13, where two of the rear guard 8 guns are now turning in to try and stop the 13, while the rest of the fleet take on the 8 guns right now.
This is a way they can catch up, because not only are they going to have the 2 8 guns at the rear of the French line that are turning into the British 8 gun, so the rear of the Jackals line is now is going to be in a second engaging the SCP-38's flagship. Also, there are rocket boats and gunboats. I think all of the Jackals, rocket boats, and gunboats are upon them at this point. So we've got an interesting battle, because it looks like it's playing out more, though, in favor of the SCP-38. Because they have 4 8 guns all firing, or at least 3 of those 4 8 guns all firing on the flagship of the Jackals, and the Jackals flagship is just kind of stuck. They're against the wall. There's really nothing they can do. So they're going to have to really deal a tremendous amount of damage to the SCP-38's rear isolated flagship at the back here. Whereas I think the rear isolated flagship has a really interesting opportunity to head, if you look on the compass, to head south-southwest and cut behind the front of the Jackals fleet. So those 3 ships that you see at the top, the SCP-38's flagship, which has not taken a tremendous amount of damage yet, can actually cut behind the Jackal's flagship and the 2 8 guns that are on the top right of the overhead screen right now, while still fighting on its port side, those 2 8 guns. Because it's got cannons on both sides.
Oh,
and relatively good ship HP.
Do we have correspondence on one of these 2 French 8 guns here?
I think they're probably the rear 2 8 guns of the fleet. We may not. Speak up if you do. But
Sabo here, the ones that are engaging the 13?
Yeah.
Well, he's making the move as you suspected. It looks like they're going to try and make a bad need going by rocket there. It seems we also got a rocket boat chasing this one as well. It did just miss, but I expect to get killed in the next few seconds. But hey ho.
Are you the ship that's almost down?
No, my ship I'm on has got full health. Oh, never mind, I have no health. But yeah, they've engaged, and yeah, they're definitely going to try and get behind the rest of the fleet there to get that 13.
Looks like the SCP-38. Okay, so the SCP did lose their lead 8 gun. That's on the bottom right hand of the overhead. So that's the lead 8 gun at the wall. The rear 8 gun at the wall is now turning off, and it looks like it's going to try and intercept the 2 Jackal 8 guns that were harassing the SCP-38's flagship, which the flagship is sitting right behind the enemy's line. This is a great
flagship
maneuver.
has been sunk. Right.
Yep. Okay, so we have a situation here in which the SCP-38's flagship is above half HP and the Jackals flagship is gone. This obviously a highly decisive moment in the battle, and it had to do with the fact that the SCP-38s could get 4 8 guns, all focus firing on that ship. Not to mention it had a 13-gun cut behind it. Now is where the battle gets very messy. All these fleet formations are going to break apart, and it's going to become a lot of people fighting for their lives. I don't see a way in which the Jackals pull back from this, just because the SCP-38s, they just have such a really good ship HP. They have just such a really great, total.
Yeah, just a lead on the.
Yeah, just the lead is just so strong. Warble, what do you think here?
Well, the Jackals still have a rocket boat, which can do a lot of damage, and they still have all their 8 guns for now, although not much longer by the looks of it, with the one that is engaging in a 1v1 versus a 13-gun currently.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 13-gun of the SCP really is doing a lot of work, and also if we are looking at the points as a tab menu, then the point-wise leaders of both teams, I believe, are the current 8 gunners of the respective 13 guns, with SCP-38 Spicy Paper being on this flagship that is still up here.
Spicy, a top player in the league, all around.
I think
points-wise.
Points-wise, really a top player. I think with a few more matches on his belt, will become number 1 in the leaderboard, if I got that correct. So
so far as I know,
this is one further notch, I think, today.
Yeah, this is. I mean, it's not over yet. That's for sure. This is not one of those things where with the flagship we could say, "Oh my God, this battle's lost." But all signs are pointing to the fact that the French fleet, with only 2 8 guns at good HP and 2 8 guns at fairly bad HP, as compared to the 38s that have all of their all their remaining 8 guns above half, well above half, and their 13 guns still above half, that is usually fairly decisive here. And I think it's going to show as this battle concludes. But I think the Jackals are going to really try to make it so that this win is not easy for them. They do seem to have a bit of cohesion here. At least 2 of their ships are sort of together, but they're taking a lot of fire from a lot of different directions at this point. Like that rear French 8 gun is taking a tremendous amount of fire. It's going to be taking fire from a 13 gun. It's gonna take damage from the rocket boat behind it. It's gonna take damage from the ship that's probably in front of it, might even turn and deal damage. So the ship behind it is gonna deal damage. It's just a lot. I don't really see how they're gonna pull it out here. We're down to 3 8 guns for the Jackals, and they're just in a bad position. As we said, the fleet formations have broken apart, and so now the Jackals are all fighting individual battles. That's not good. They need organization at this moment, not isolation, and unfortunately that's what they're getting here.
I mean they got both of these fleets actually got stuck quite badly against the wall, right? With just the 13 gun maneuvering for a while, but that's enough, I guess. If the 13 gun is maneuvering and is the winning one, and then it's okay if you're stuck for a bit, because you can just extract yourself from that again without too much of a penalty, versus if you are on a losing side in a duel, then trying while you're in range and stand still to try to get away while your bow is against the wall, that's a difficult maneuver.
Yeah, and it's also about how many ships you have to spare, because you saw some really great back of the line cutting across, right? So they had some really great maneuvers where they would separate some ships from the back of their line once they were stuck to the wall to try and do maneuvers that would cross behind the enemy's line. And they both did it in their own ways. That was really good. I mean, these are 2 teams. We thought this was going to be a fairly close battle, and I think we can end it saying that it is going to be a fairly close battle. I mean, it's not razor thin close. But you can see that the skill levels of these 2 teams are relatively similar. They are relatively close insofar as the maneuvers they think to make, at the times they think to make them. One side had a little bit more of a concentration of firepower, and I'm going to say that that was the SCP-38s when they had those 4 ships firing at the 1 13 gun and the 2 8 guns. They had those 4 8 guns firing at that, and it showed that they were able to put a lot of accuracy into that and shut down that 13 gun a little bit more than the Jackals were able to shut down their line of 4, and that was it.
Yeah, and it really shows though that the 8 guns do have a huge impact here. I mean, we always focus on the flagship and the 13 gun, but the 8 guns really do matter, and they do, if put together, develop a lot of firepower.
And that's right, and it's that concentration of firepower that makes them dangerous. It's the amount of shots that they can get off compared to other ships, and especially if they're concentrating their firepower in the 13, you can imagine that scenes from that 13 would have been a lot of people dying at their cannons and not getting able to get their shots off. So yeah, I think they did it. I think the SCP did a really great job. I think they had a really interesting strategy that did not work exactly like they wanted it to because of timing, which we will talk about a lot in Boardroom when we get to this. Timing is everything with these complicated maneuvers, and learning that timing is how you create strategies that can be not just good but brilliant. And I think this was a brilliant strategy that was reduced in its brilliance by timing. But nonetheless, at the end of it, they got together.
Jackals have managed to sink an SCP-8 gun with a rocket boat.
That's great.
They've hung here behind the rocket boat for quite some time, getting punished a lot for it, so that rocket boats is now it's down. So that was the last of the Jackals boats, but they have managed to take down an otherwise pretty healthy 8 gun. So,
and the shame of it is if the Jackals had been able to take down the 38's flagship at this point, this would be a dead heat. But they weren't. They have still not gotten the SCP-38's flagship down below half, or if they have, they've just gotten it just below half.
Yeah,
and
I wouldn't know with what they should do it.
They had to do something at some point. They had when the 38's flagship eventually arrived at the battle, they had to have some strategy in place to put tremendous amounts of damage into it, and they just didn't. They did not have a way to answer it, and when it came into the battle, it was largely ignored. 2 ships did split off to take care of it, but it was largely ignored except for by the enemy's rocket ships and gunboats. And what we've learned about the rocket ships and gunboats is that they are mosquitoes. They can do tremendous damage to cannons, but they're not chipping off a lot of HP. Even under sustained fire on a 13 gun, the rocket boat, which is usually considered a highly damaging ship, it's just not putting a lot of damage into these boats. So yeah, it looks like it's going to be a slow crawl to an SCP-38 victory. And
there's only one Jackals 8 gun left at this point.
And it's just sitting in that corner. Though it is alone fighting the 13 gun, if I'm not mistaken. So if we have somebody on that, I'd love to see it.
Well, I would just like to know that SCP have actually started a line battle on their ship up against the wall.
Have they?
Yeah, we're attempting to board from the ship just sunk, and there's a line on their deck.
I hope we're seeing it.
That is wonderful.
That's good. Well, audience, this is what land battles are like.
And I must admit that the SCP-8 gun that is now up against the wall did just basically pin the 8 gun that has just sunk quite near it in that position, and it was stopped from saving the extra fire going into the 13 gun by a carpenter. I don't quite know who it was, but they did hamper it. That's why it's at one sail down.
Yes, I see that.
Do a good bit of work over there.
Yeah.
Oh,
triangle! Great shot.
Absolutely huge shot.
Well, folks.
Well, that's just a broadside gun.
Yeah. That's
wow.
This is again a very interesting battle. I liked this battle a lot. Sometimes battles end up in a way that's very predictable. This one didn't. There had some fun, adventurous strategies from the SCP-38s. The Jackals also stayed together, didn't make it. Well, I didn't see any major mistakes from the Jackals. It's less that they made any big openings that could be exploited, and more so the fact that they were engaging. I honestly think it may have come down to cannoneering. Honest to God, it may have come down to cannoneering.
It might have.
Because there was a lot of time where they had a lot of
equal.
opportunities to deal a lot of damage to these 8 guns, and the 8 guns were not losing HP throughout this battle. Well, so yeah, correspondents, what are our takeaways here? What did you guys see? What do you guys feel about this,
Well,
especially on that point?
With your point on gunnery, I was looking at the scores throughout, and they actually seemed fairly equal on the gunnery. I think personally, if the Jackals made one big mistake, it was going after the main body of the fleet rather than the 13 gun. Because if they'd gone after the 13 gun, it would have been a slower upwind sail, but it would have taken longer for the rest of the SCP fleet to get to that than
I
it took
agree.
for the 13 to get to the rest of their fleet.
Yeah, that's key analysis right there, and I think you're absolutely right. They did choose to go for the 8 guns, which despite the fact that 8 guns are weaker than 13 guns, that was the concentration of the enemy's power, whereas the isolation of enemy power was that 13 gun that was just not all by itself because it had the gunboats. But again, the gunboats are not winning or losing any battles. They are distractions, they are auxiliary, they are pestering, they are boarding ships, right? So they have ways of disrupting a fleet, but they're not going to by themselves sink a fleet. That isolated 13 gun was very much the weak point of the SCP-38's of initial formation, and I think you're right. I think they should have been. The Jackals should have capitalized on that. They could have taken their whole fleet to fight that ship and obliterated it.
I think there is one other point, which is probably when the 2 rearguard ships started to turn. I think at that point, trying to draw the 13 away for extra time was only signing the inevitable conclusion, I think, from that point.
Yeah,
there was the fire got drawn away, yes, but the two 8 guns were not going to do enough to be able to do, I suppose, what they think they wanted to the 13. Maybe they read the health wrong in what they did in initial salvos, but it was too much of a healthy ship to put those 2 8 guns there in that position.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it was basically untouched. I mean, it probably hadn't taken any. I mean, I think it took some light fire.
It was light fire, yeah.
But like mostly nothing. And so, yeah, I think you're also right about that. Really great analysis. I think that at the end of the day, breaking those 2 ships off left the flagship and 2 8 guns to fight 4 8 guns, which, by the way, they had been fighting for the rest of that earlier part of that battle as well. And so either they thought that those 4 8 guns were going to be really weak, which they were not, or they just thought, holy crap, we can't let this 13 gun get behind us. But the truth of the matter is if the 13 gun got behind them, it might sink 1 8 gun, but instead of sinking 1 8 gun, they gave it 2 8 guns to deal with. So I agree with you. I think those are probably the key mistakes that were made today. But overall, I hope you all agree. I thought this was a great battle. I think this was a really interesting battle with a lot of meat to chew on strategically. And for that, I really enjoyed it. All right, so we have our admirals here with us. We have Piet. No, sorry, not Piet. Piet, you're one of our correspondents. We have Muffin Top, and we have Katsub. So let's start with Katsub. Katsub, how are you? And tell us a little bit about how this battle went for you, what you thought of the SCP-38 splitting up their fleet in the beginning.
Well, this was a magnificent battle. Even though we've lost, I really enjoyed it because there was a lot to do. Constantly giving orders, constantly coordinating stuff. But unfortunately, that coordination is something that kind of didn't work for us in this battle because. This is something that I have to, discuss with my own squad. But you were asking about the splitting fleet idea.
Yes.
Cool idea, and I thought that this is something that cool idea, but this is something that initially could give an advantage to us because when I saw this 13 gunner kind of getting away from the rest of the fleet, I was thinking holy, okay, I won't be swearing today, but this is
holy shit, this is a great opportunity for us.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, should we prioritize sinking that 13 gunner or going for the 8 gunners? And I was like, okay, when I go for the 8 gunner for the 13 gunner, I will be going against the wind. So it's like really kind of tough bet. Either sink this one ship, which is really important, or sink the other, ships in the fleet. So I've decided, okay, let's sink the other ships in the fleet first, and I don't think that was a mistake. What was mistake was this kind of thing I've heard you were talking about the two ships that kind of disengaged with the rest of the gunners. That was, I think, of miscommunication between us, actually, because I did not intend to do it like this, but this is what happened. And when I saw this, I was like, okay, we may. It is not what I wanted to do, but we may use this. Let's keep that 13 gunner for a bit, and maybe with the help of our small ships, we will be able to take the rest of the 8 gunners. Like we've had the 2 8 gunners of our own, and we've had the 13 gunner, which is really, it's really good to have. But then, then the big miscommunications happened on our side. I feel like we could do much better in this matter, because from this point, everything kind of went to shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that is the point. Yeah, basically, when you lined up against the wall, right, and you had your 3 ships versus their 4 8 gunners,
I wanted to have them all.
Right, and I agree. I think having stayed there with your whole fleet would have made a difference, because even if the 13 gun got behind you guys, yeah, it might have taken out an 8 gun, but I think you still would have had more firepower all concentrated, and that's what we saw. And I want to ask, like, do you feel like, because it seemed like the scores were pretty even, so this may not be the case, but did you feel like that your cannoneers were just not hitting like the other team's cannoneers were? Like, was it a cannoneering issue? Because by rights, like a 13 gun and 2 8s should be a close match for 4 8 guns.
Yes.
But it didn't end up being that close, to be honest. They ended up doing a lot of damage to your 13 gun, and once your 13 gun was down, then it was just them cleaning up,
What I wanted to achieve was to, focus the fire on the particular ship. So, eliminate one, eliminate second one, eliminate third one.
Exactly.
But this is where the miscommunication part, was a problem, because, I saw that I was, giving orders to, focus the fire on the ships. But, the cannonballs were flying everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's going on? And but I didn't really have it was a lot of action, so I didn't really have time to address everything at the same time. So I was trying to coordinate stuff.
As Admiral, you don't really get to command your cannoneers quite so much. You're mostly dealing with your fleet, and you have your deck officers, so that's perfectly understandable, and I get that. Yeah, go ahead.
That's basically the main problem, I think, right now, because I will be studying this battle. I have this manner to study the battles I was commanding.
Yeah.
And I will definitely look into it just like before.
Yeah.
And I will try to study it to see what the problem was, because I think that right now, I think that the coordination was our biggest problem here.
Yes.
I may be wrong, I may be not wrong, but this is something that I cannot be 100% sure right now, because we are right after the battle. I will have to talk with my crew and define what was the main problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all I could say, I really want to. My takeaway here is, I really, like you said, I really loved this battle. I don't think I think there. When we were talking afterwards, the correspondents and I were talking about, maybe we think that you probably should have gone for the 13 gun in the beginning, because they were so far apart.
Yeah.
They were so far apart, right? The 13 gun and their 8 guns were so far apart that if you went for the 8 gun, if you went for the 13 guns, their 8 guns would have taken a very long time to catch up. So at the very least, you would have put a lot of it. But I don't see that as that wasn't stupid that you went for the 8 guns. It wasn't like a
There was one more thing.
it was definitely an understandable choice. Like, you had two choices. They were both had their strengths and weaknesses. And I think if I was you, I probably would have also thought that those 8 guns would go down a lot faster than they did. They stayed up for a very, very long time, shockingly.
And there is one more thing, because like their 13 gunner was initially like close to their spawn, so they have the support of their small ships.
True.
And it's not really that big of a thing when you have the whole of your fleet right at their doorstep. However, it would mean that we won't have the access for our small ships at the beginning, and that is kind of a big thing when you want to support your fleet with the smaller ships.
Yeah.
So I've opted for the 8 gunners because I was like, it was kind of like the mirror situation with our previous battle with the Krakens. When we had them on close to our spawn, our small ships were able to support our main fleet, but the thing with the wall happened and so on. So that was like it was basically my mistake. But right now we've had an opportunity to do it well. Like divide the fleet, use the support of our small ships to basically destroy the main part of the fleet. The 8 gunners before the 13 gunner arrive.
Yep.
But as I said, the miscommunication happened, and I wish to address that thing with my crew.
I these are, again, this is all preseason. This is the warm-ups, right, for the season 1. And I always believe that defeat teaches you more than victory, and I hope that this defeat teaches you a tremendous amount, because
even if I lose every single battle on this,
it's okay.
On this warm up, this is okay, because I wish to learn. I'm still this is my second battle. Because previously we've had Matix as our commander. Then I was like, kind of giving a lot of tactical hints, some battle plans and stuff. So the Jackals thought like, okay, let's make this guy an admiral. Maybe he will lead us to victory. Well, it didn't really.
It's not too late. There's plenty of battles ahead of you, my friend. Plenty of battles ahead of you.
I still take these opportunities to learn, and I wish that this experience will give us the fruits in the future.
Good. Well, I hope that it will, and I just want to congratulate you guys for a really good battle today, and you can definitely see.
And I wish to congratulate the SCP for the victory, because it was really a good battle and a good victory for them.
All right. Well, with that, let's turn over to the SCP's Admiral Muffintop Scout. Thank you, Kesub, and let's talk a little bit about what happened today. Let's talk about that very bold opening. Let's talk about how you felt when you reached the wall and what was happening there when that 13 gun finally caught up and you were able to execute some behind the line maneuvers and everything. So Muffin, first off, congratulations, Muffin, on your victory. Excellent victory. And we were all very delighted by your play style today. So take us through it.
Yeah. So thankfully the wind was in our favor today. We might have lost the server, the server toss, but we got the wind toss. And when I saw the map and I thought, you know what, I want to try something. I want to divide my fleet and see how the enemy is going to respond. I want to see, is he going to mirror me? Is he going to focus on one or the other? Because I did want to, for this match particularly, try out setting up some sort of a crossfire scenario. Whether it be I get behind them or I want to split their fire. So focus them down. So when I saw that the wind was going to be in our favor and the map layout, I was going to take the 13 gun and the small boats with me. And I was hoping they would come after me so that I could use the superior, range of the 13 gun to, engage from range and then like turn back, basically turn back around and lead them towards my spawn to, keep the engagement going. That would allow me to bring my 8 guns in. But when I saw that he was going to focus in on my 8 guns, then I was like, all right, here's the game plan, guys. We're gonna maneuver in, hit them from 2 sides as much as we can, and then I saw that from positioning wise, we were gonna fight against the wall. So I was just like, okay, let's 8 guns. I know you're going to get shot in the back for a little bit. Take the damage, maneuver, get against the wall, and we'll gun them down there. Okay, as I thought that our guys in the long run could win the gunnery duel. And when I was a little surprised when his line broke ranks. You know, those 2 8-gun ships decided to turn against me, and I looked at that situation and I thought, yes, I'm going to return the favor.
And then you cut behind their line, which was very nice. Yeah. So basically, it sounds like it went exactly how you wanted it to go, with the exception of sort of the opening not luring them where you wanted to lure them. But it sounds like it all came together for you, huh?
It was definitely a constant. I was giving orders, all the time, and since I captained the 13 gun as well, making sure my gunners are on point with their targeting and coordinating the little boats, because I really wanted to get the little boats into the fight, and it really did look like this time they did. I mean, when my gunboat crew with Death, and he lost his cannon, and I just told him, hey, ram that rocket boat, board it, kill it, so it stopped. It's not no longer shooting us, and they brought it down, and kind of stuff like that. And then once the main and the most fun was, once I got the 13 gun behind their main line and started, finishing that fight. As soon as the enemy 13 gun went down, I just told my 8 guns, all right, all ships forward, advance, get within close range, and punish them.
Right.
Pick your target and commit. And then I would give like little orders of like, shift fire to another target, turn to engage this target, focus it down. I wanted a grand melee for the fight.
Nice. Yeah, I have to say, of all the teams in the league, I think you guys are probably my favorite, because every time I see you guys, you're doing something wacky to win battles. Like you're just trying new and risky, innovative, interesting strategies, and I really appreciate that, because that is what I had always hoped to see from this league. That's what central control can do for a fleet. It can give the opportunity for somebody to show off some either genius or damn foolish strategies and see how it plays out. And today, I think I was saying, I really think, but for a little bit of shift in the timing, you could have had an even, I think the 13 gun was really far out. That was my only criticism of you guys, was that your 13 gun took a while to get back to the battle, and then when they sent those gunboats down towards you, the gunboat and rocket boat, they delayed you a little bit longer. And I think delaying that was the only thing that was stopping you from creating exactly what you were looking for, which we were talking about hammer and anvil while we were doing our commentary. Basically your 8 guns were sort of the anvil, and your ship could be the hammer that comes in and crashes from the other side of them and does tremendous damage and creates confusion. And that didn't quite end up happening. It happened at the end when you crossed the line, behind the line, but the battle was very much already being won by you by that point. And I wish we had gotten to see all the timing come together and have you really surround and just hit them from every side all at once. That's a very difficult maneuver to pull off in the first place. But even still, even once there was that moment where your 8 guns were lined up, they were getting shot in the back, it never looked like they took a lot of damage. They really never took a tremendous amount of damage throughout the whole battle. And we were all shocked by the fact that there were moments in which they were, the enemy had your T-cross from the rear, and nonetheless, they still were not putting the damage that they needed to at the end of the game have that advantage. And obviously once you hit the wall, your 4 8 guns firing into their 13 gun, they took that thing down really, really fast. So obviously you had something really good today when it came to artillery and positioning and everything. And I just thought you did a great job all around. Imperfect maybe, though, it all ended up being, they didn't go the way that you wanted them to go. You guys put it all together at the end to make such a great victory. And you could tell that the other team really was concerned about your maneuvers, and they were breaking people off where they maybe shouldn't have, and things were happening that didn't suit them because of the pressure you put on them from this unorthodox strategy. So my hat's off to you, man. I really love the strategies you guys keep pulling out, and I look forward to your battles every time that you guys come up.
I'm
we're
seconding that.
Yeah, I mean, how'd you feel?
I'm not that much of a strategist, I think the viewers by now have gotten the idea that I like to I like to talk around, but I actually know what I'm talking about half the time, in meaning that I'm not a captain myself, right? I'm observing these pretty ships move about and shoot each other, but if I'm always thinking, well, not always, but I really have to force myself to think of a strategy because I'm more of a gunner. So if I see one side winning, I'm thinking, oh, they must be shooting better. But though this might be the case today, for a slight margin, I think, all this talk about strategy sometimes confuses me a bit. But no, it's really fun to watch, and it's. I'm also like, it's always interesting to see, for example, who takes out which kinds of boats in the beginning and all kind. You were a match today, right? So both teams took out a rocket boat and a gunboat, and then the Jackals just started losing their boats one after another, trying to, for example, delay the 13 gun and having a bit of success maybe and stuff like that. But it's I don't know. So I'm thinking, what if the Jackals had immediately turned the whole fleet against the 13 gun?
Yeah, that's a great question.
What would have happened then? What would you have done? Yeah.
What would you have done if they went all for? Because what you said earlier to us was that you would have kind of like used long range, but then swung back around to your. But I have a feeling that would have just ended up being them in a line battle with you. And like I have a feeling that might have been the catastrophe situation, actually, if they did what you said that you wanted them to do, as compared to what they ended up doing. I think that would have been a very dangerous position for you. So tell me a little bit about what your thought was for that scenario.
So that was a risk that I was thinking about on how to maneuver both fleets into a position so that we could get some form of that crossfire. And at the beginning, I thought that they were going. Funnily enough, I really thought they were just going to hug the center of the map where those big islands are.
They looked like they were going abreast at first. They looked like they were all like doing the 13 gun on one side and then every 8 guns all on the port side of that 13 gun. And I also agree. I thought they were going to just go right straight down the center, which would have been very interesting.
Yeah, and that was my main concern for that was, okay, if they're gonna, I wanted them to commit with me, but yeah, that was the idea of. I was concerned of where they were going to input, or not input, but like if they were going to enter the island chains, like where it would be, because that would be a key factor on my positioning. And I was, I was thinking, am I a little bit too far out? I'm trying to be the bait ship. Do I make a run for the map edge? Just because I do have the wind advantage, do I make a run for the map edge and force them to chase me so that my 8 guns can come in behind them? That's what I was thinking about when I was seeing their fleet maneuver. And as I said, I was willing to, if I did think that the enemy was going to fully engage with me, then I would swing out, head back to spawn, and try to prolong the engagement. Only have a couple of their ships, mainly their 13 gun, try to engage us so that my 8 guns could try to cut into the middle map and engage them, kind of stuff like that. That was the idea. That's what I was thinking about when I was watching their fleet maneuver. And just, I was trying to think of options, because that was my original type of intention, was bait them in with my 13 gun because I thought it would be the choicest target.
Yeah, I mean, my worry for you on that one is that if they went for the 13, your 8 guns would have to go against the wind a lot to catch up to you. So actually, that's why I thought that was the like nightmare scenarios if they went for your 13, because when they went for your 8 guns, your 13 turned to port and you had the wind. You had great wind. Like, you caught up to them very quickly, right, because of that wind. Whereas the reverse probably wouldn't have been easy for them. Those 8 guns would have been sailing mostly against the wind to catch up to your 13 gun if that was the focus target. So I feel like this all turned out really good for you in what they ended up choosing.
Yeah, that definitely was a very high risk, because I wanted to try it to see what I can get away with.
I've been on the precipice of trying split fleet ideas myself in future battles. And all this did was make me very jealous that I was not the first person to try and do it. So I think it was just really wonderful, and I loved it. Warble or correspondence, any last final thoughts about this, or any questions that you have for either of our admirals? If not,
I think I've got one, which is, I think probably for both, is that which were you favouring more? Were you favouring more of an island engagement overall, or were you thinking more of like open waters was your best sort of solution? What were you guys practicing beforehand in regards to this?
For me, we didn't practice beforehand. I think Killam, was it Killam or was it Atticus that showed the maps right before when we were deciding the match, because I thought it had I misremembered what map, because it looked, I thought I saw the name and I thought like, oh, we fought this 3 weeks ago. If I'm the French, I'm gonna barrel into the islands and fight them there, but the map shifted 90 degrees on us in a sense, so all the islands were on one side and both fleets could fight it out. And I was looking at both types of engagements in a sense. I wanted to either fight them in the islands if they decided to pick us there, pick a fight there, or drag it out to sea and try to shove them against the wall. I mean, well, I guess for both plans, that's what it kind of turned into: shove them against the wall and outgun them, maneuver when you can.
You would think of it like a wrestling ring. Pin them against the wall and see what you can get away with.
Yes. As I said, I'm more than willing to trade health for positioning, as my 8 guns did not like when Kazub's fleet was getting in behind them. They were yelling at me saying, "We got to turn. We got to bring our guns on." I'm just like, "No, you're not. You're going to head straight for their spawn, and then you're going to hook left into the wall. You're going to take it."
Yeah, they sure did. And honestly, that sacrifice didn't really lose you a lot. You didn't lose a lot of ship HP in that moment, which, again, was shocking to me. Very shocking. All right, well, next week, I have a very interesting battle for you all, viewers. But before we get to that, let me just thank both of our admirals, Katsub, thank you, and Mufftop, thank you for a really wonderful to watch battle. Really great. Both of your teams are developing so nicely, and I cannot wait to see your future competitions. Piet, Percy, Wavy, Warcrime, Warble, Sabo, all of our correspondents. If I miss any, I'm sorry. Professor, right? That's right. I was about to thank him with the directors, but he was a correspondent today. So thank you, Professor. I hope you enjoyed corresponding today. And of course, as always, our director, we have to thank. Today it was Atticus, and we want to thank Killam, who was crucial in our organizing of our mercenaries and getting all that set up, and of course Warble, ever our wonderful co-host. I want to thank everybody here for an excellent production and an excellent battle and an excellent iteration of the NSL. Next week, I will be leading my fleet in battle, and therefore I will not be joining you as a host. Warble will be here, however, along with another co-host to cover the X versus Seawolves battle, which is one that I think really going to be hopefully one of the best battles that we can make it. I am so excited for this battle. The Seawolves are a team that have just thrashed their way through all competition, and I think it's about time that somebody checks them, and I'm going to be trying to do it next week. And if Sabo were here, I'm sure he'd be saying the exact same thing, that he cannot wait to slap me around, or Shuey, their other admiral. So we will be looking forward to that tremendously. I will be back in the ward room this Thursday, I hope. Fingers crossed. My work schedule has been absolutely vicious over the past few weeks, and I'm hoping that I have a little bit of time off on Thursday night so that I can bring to you some more ward room battles. And some deep dives into the Admiralty. As we started here, this is sort of the first draft, and then we get to the War Room and we make a more complete draft of our analysis. So I hope you'll join me for that. That'll be right here on the Twitch stream. Also, I really want to encourage everybody who's listening and watching to go to our YouTube channel, okay? The Naval Sports League YouTube channel. Please go and watch. If you want to watch these videos, if you want to watch these matches, again, don't watch them on the Twitch. Go watch them on our YouTube channel. It helps us a lot to build that. And we will have just as great of content there alongside our other shows like the Ward Room and our other offerings when we create them or if we continue them. That said, thank you so much for your appreciation, attendance, and patronage of this league. We continue to try and provide to you the best naval battles that Holdfast has to offer. We will see you again next week, everybody. Thanks again, and have a great evening.